episode 151 of The Past. What's going on, y'all? This is your host, BT. I'm going to start off, before I start the show off, I'm going to do something a little different. Normally, I always kind of just jump right into topics and go into the backstories of what's going on in the world. But I got a little bit of a different approach I'm going to go with today. Since we are doing episode 151, and 151 is a number I see very often as a number. I'm not going to say I'm a numberologist or a numerologist, but it's a number I see very frequently. So I'm going to kind of read something to you all. I'll share the link in the show notes as well. Significance and meaning of angel number 151 or 151. In essence, the numbers that we have are from 0 to 9. The numbers above that will add to become more superior numbers depending on the power it holds. You have been coming across the number 151 so many times to the extent so many times to the extent you think that your eyes are lying to you. You even wonder why this particular angel number 151 and not a letter or a color or someone's name keeps flashing in front of you. Even if you were to be told that your angel is sending you a message, you'll find it hard to believe. Let's have a point to point look of the message being passed to you. How does it feel when you nurture a plant and you see it grow to its mature stage? The message from angel number 1 is for you to grow or plant something and nurture it. It may be in the literal sense that you grow a plant and you see it mature, or an idea. Another way is for you to nurture a person, be a mentor to someone else. See to it that they reach their full potential and the rewards for you will be satisfying. What you don't know is that by nurturing someone else, you get to sharpen your talent and skill as well. Number 5 is talking about your level of preparedness. I see what it is. Before I continue, reading this is weird because some of it's like they double typed and I guess it was rush written, but anyway, we're going to just continue. Number 5 is talking about your level of preparedness. Chance favors a prepared mind. If opportunity comes knocking on your door, it better find you ready to take it up. It may be that life-challenging position at work that you have been waiting for. When you are asked whether you are ready to take it up, answer yes. You'll learn more while you do that job. That new opportunity will open more doors for you. The other number 1 in the angel number 151 meaning is all about honesty. At times the truth hurts, but the kind of relief one gets when things are out in the open is like a weight has been taken off your shoulder. Strive to being a truthful person as it makes people form a level of trust in you. Angel number 151 symbolism is telling you to be prepared for the opportunities that will come knocking in your life. Have a good relationship with people and above making someone grow, create, and see it to its maturity. Your guardian angel is holding your hand in this journey. So that's kind of I know it's like a different way of starting the show, but I also wanted to kind of, settle things down a little bit, go a bit of a different chill route, and just kind of, everyone hasn't been in the best of places the past couple of days or weeks. I know for me, life has been coming at me fast, but life happens. So you just kind of got to be a big kid and deal with it. But I wanted to kind of start off with that because there was a podcaster who I would listen to, Ashley Taylor. I know she's out there. Not sure if you still have or have not been listening to the shows, but definitely I remember you doing like a angel number message one point. So this is kind of like a give back, but also just for me it's been beneficial because I've been like getting into my spiritual chi or my kind of chill place with life, and I don't regret any of it, and I'm thankful for it. But I'm not gonna bore y'all with a bunch of introductory details. Hope everyone's doing well on this Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening, whenever you hear the show. A lot has gone on in the sports world. It's kind of crazy because I did mention to you all right when the show ended that the Louisville story broke. So we'll get into that. There's a lot of tech talk that I actually finally have, so I'm kind of excited about that. And we'll get into it. Before we do, however, I do want to make sure that I do give my quote-unquote sponsors their attention. The episodes are uploaded each week at Spreaker.com. If you're looking to get into podcasting, I definitely would recommend Spreaker as a good place to start off. And the microphone that I'm using is the Blue Yeti microphone. Going with my different setup from normal. Most cases I'm usually set up with the stand and chilling, but I got my other stand that I'm using, so I'm kind of more relaxed. I'm not in the library, so you'll probably hear me be a lot more me. I mean, I'm me anyway, but I think I'm more me and probably gonna be a little bit more unfiltered. So I will warn you, there's a possibility a couple of shits and fucks may come out. Now, honestly, I'm gonna try to keep it pretty PG as best as I can, because I know, like I said, I try to target and look at all audience involved, but I'm not gonna waste y'all time. I know we're about 5 minutes in and I've done that intro, but we'll go ahead and jump right into it. The first story that that I always share each week, adding to the angel number, is if you are in a crisis or if you have any issues that you may come across related to physical assault, battery, sexual assault, anything of that sort, I always want to make sure that everyone knows this number. And I'm going to say this number each week because there are people who may be experiencing it in a mental capacity or maybe experiencing it on a personal capacity. And just call this number, 1-800-799-SAFE, or you can go to thehotline.org. If you go back a couple of episodes, I always remind you all about this as well. There is a way for you to use your phone, whether you have an Android or an iPhone, to call out and get help. And you can do it subtly without having anyone know you're doing it, things of that nature. So that's something that I want to make sure that I get out there to the listeners. Also, if you are looking to find a good place to get your grub on in the city, I personally would recommend my best friend Vernetta. She has the business A Taste of Heaven, RVA. It is based in Virginia in the Commons. They are open today, I believe, till 6 p.m. And if you want to reach out to them, it's 804-433-9954. The links are in the show notes if you're looking to see what type of meals they have available through their site. And you can call in and you can kind of get an idea of what they have as their specials on their specific dates. She's definitely, been building her brand, and I definitely want to make sure that I get the brand out there because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Quite a lot to get into, and I've made it my goal, and I knew it was going to happen. My tablet just loves to be special. Anyway, the NCAA is under heat right now. Initially, and I'm kind of going to do these stories slightly backwards because I kind of teased the Louisville story last week, but I'll give that its undivided attention today. But after that story broke a couple days later, actually, matter of fact, a few days ago on Sunday, big story broke related to the FBI is getting involved with possible NCAA corruption, with schools violating for basketball. And I'm gonna tell you all in advance, this story may take up a good amount of the show. So if you are able to bear with me, I appreciate it. If you need a moment to get your life together, and this may not be the sports spin you're looking for, I'm definitely gonna get into the tech talk. But this one I really want to chew and give its proper attention because it's something that's been going on and people have tried to not acknowledge it, but we'll, kind of dive into it and let it, be what it is. So players from more than 20 today is Brian Can't Read Day. Players from more than 20 Division I men's basketball programs have been identified as possibly breaking NCAA rules through violations that were uncovered by the FBI's investigation into corruption in the sport, according to documents published by Yahoo Sports. Schools identified by Yahoo as having players who possibly violated NCAA rules include Duke, North Carolina, Texas, Kentucky, Michigan State, USC, and Kansas. At least 25 players are linked to impermissible benefits, including Michigan State's Miles Bridges, which we'll talk about later, Alabama's Colin Sexton, and Duke's Wendell Carter. The documents obtained by Yahoo detail the work of former NBA agent Andy Miller and his agency ASM Sports. Yahoo reports that the documents, which include paperwork from 2015 through 2017, show cash advances as well as entertainment and travel expenses paid for college prospects and their families. ESPN previously reported that as many as 36 Division I programs, including many of the sport's traditional powers, might be facing NCAA sanctions once the FBI releases information it acquired through its investigation. A source familiar with the investigation, which includes more than 4,000 conversations intercepted through wiretaps and financial records, emails, and other records seized from Miller's office, had told ESPN's Mark Schlabach that many of the sport's top coaches and players might be implicated, calling Miller's words the NCAA's worst nightmare. Friday's report from Yahoo begins to name the teams and players allegedly involved. At least 6 players were identified in the documents as receiving payments exceeding $10,000. They include Dallas Mavericks point guard Dennis Smith Jr., who received $73.5K in loans from ASM before he played for NC State. Brooklyn Nets shooting guard Isaiah Whitehead, who received more than $37K from the time he was a freshman at Seton Hall. And number 1 draft pick Markelle Fultz from the previous draft, who received $10K. Other teams with current or former players who allegedly received payments were South Carolina, Louisville, Utah, Xavier, Wichita State, Clemson, and Alabama. Other players named include former LSU guard Tim Quarterman, former Maryland center Diamond Stone, and former Kentucky center Bam Adebayo. These allegations, if true, point to systematic failures that must be fixed and fixed now if we want college sports in America, NCAA President Mark Emmert said in a statement Friday. Simply put, people who engage in this kind of behavior have no place in college sports. They are an affront to all those who play by the rules. Emmert noted that the formation of an independent commission on college basketball in October intended to provide recommendations on cleaning up the sport. With these latest allegations, it's clear this work is more important now than ever. Utah AD Chris Hill agreed to those points in a statement Friday. Unethical agents have been an issue in college athletics, particularly men's basketball and football, for many years, despite repeated educational efforts by the schools. Personally, I welcome the scrutiny on the sport of basketball, which is going to be interesting, because the behavior of some agents, along with reports of other illegal recruiting activities, is hurting the sport. The coach has been a great deal of integrity, has a great deal of integrity and runs a clean program, but this situation shows there are areas outside of a coach's control that need to be fixed. The schools, majority of the major schools that I've mentioned, stated that they would cooperate with the authorities. The Duke AD issued a statement stating that the university had reviewed the matter and found no eligibility issues. Coach Cal from the Wildcats did not have any report with Miller. He never utilize any agent to provide any financial benefits to current or former Kentucky student athletes. Seton Hall said it would conduct an internal review despite not having been contacted. LSU also said it had been contacted by Federal League or NCAA officials, but said an outside investigation found the program in full compliance. And the list continues. It's a lot more, information that goes into this. So I'm kind of pushing this a little bit, but then I'll give some backstory to it as well, because I didn't talk about this since it was not listed in this article, and that was kind of my derpness of moments. But first things first, and this wasn't talked about in this story, which I found to be ironic. Sean Miller, who is the coach for the Arizona Wildcats, and I'm sharing this story because it's a ripple effect. So the Wildcats were one of the big names because they got pretty much the number one prospect from this past draft. Not draft class, but from the previous recruiting class. DeAndre Ayton was the number one guy, and DeAndre Ayton went to Arizona. Arizona was involved in wiretapping schemes as well, and that kind of showed the forefront of how it all went down. When this story leaked, because of how critical and how crucial it was, Sean Miller decided, you know what, I'm not going to coach. This is too close, too soon, too much. I don't want to be part of it. So I'm not going to say I don't want to be part of it, but it was more so I'm going to back off. I'm going to let this kind of play out. Then, of course, the question became, well, what is DeAndre Ayton going to do? Is he going to play? Is he going to sit out? What's his place with all of this? So they decided to go ahead and let him. Well, he chose to go ahead and play, or Arizona decided to let him play. Now, you have to always remember something, and I'm going to get into this with the Miles Bridges story as well. As a sport or as a school, the money that comes from teams making these big events or getting these opportunities, you can't leave that on the table. So if Arizona is still, right now, when it comes to the Pac-12, it's kind of almost Arizona State, everybody else. UCLA hasn't had the best year. Oregon kind of fell off this year. Oregon State, we really haven't seen much. Washington State, no shows. Those are the main schools that I can think of right offhand from Pac-12. No, I'm just talking about Pac-12 in general, but they're key to this equation. And y'all know, as a Kentucky fan, I'm gonna be very transparent in what I'm gonna say next. In a few. And I lost train of thought because I'm special. The crazy part about it is this could have been going on for so long that no one, as long as it's not being seen, it's not being heard. Go back to 1992, 93, probably, I'd say between 92 and 94. What movie came out that kind of instigated this story, but it didn't give it as much attention because it wasn't seen as a big deal back then? Blue Chips. Blue Chips talked about what we're seeing now. The tough part about it now is you can't really hide it if you try to, because most cases the school can make the presentation of, oh, we didn't know anything about it. Oh, we weren't aware that he was getting any money. Blase blah, yada, yada, yada. I'm sorry. That's bull. They can't, you can't sit here and claim that you not know what's going on with your school or that you have no involvement. As far as your kids, the kids that you're trying to get to come to your school, like right now, even with Kentucky having the lineup they have now, the guys who are trying to get to Kentucky, you have someone following and tracking how their games are looking, who they're playing, if there's any conversations going on. You got recruits at their games to see what they're looking like. You got it's strange, and I'm gonna jump on this because it's key, and I'm skipping. Okay, I'm gonna rewind because I do remember the other point I had. So DeAndre Ayton. So to brief timeline, Sean Miller says I'm not gonna coach. DeAndre Ayton decides to play. Couple of minutes later, Sharif O'Neal decides to decommit from Arizona. What was the odds of that? Not surprised by that. There's no need of being surprised that he was gonna decommit. So then the $1 million question comes: where is he gonna go? I would not be surprised if he goes to Oregon. And the only reason I say Oregon is because that's where Bobo is going. Oh, that's what he committed to. To return to the point that I was just mentioning, Duke got the number 1, number 2, and number 3 recruits coming into this upcoming recruiting class to go to Duke. Duke never really recruits in that regard. And then it's even tougher because they just mentioned Wendell Carter. We don't know if there are any other players from Duke that were involved. Trayvon Duvall made the last decision to go to Duke. You look back, what's his name? Marvin Bagley was kind of already planning out to do the leaving early school option anyway, but him leaving early, going to Duke, you wonder if something may have been involved with that. But then this kind of turns into the next question, which everybody always asked and I feel like needs to be addressed. Should kids get paid while they're in college? I don't see why not. I understand that they're getting a free scholarship, they're getting a free ride, they're getting room and board, they get food. That's fine. But to live as a college student, it's not cheap. And people sometimes, I think, people who watch the game or keep up with it understand that, but don't realize that, if that's a good way to put it. So when you're putting your pieces together and you're counting up how, the day in the life of a college student, it's not cheap by a landslide. And I mean, granted, in my case, it was different. I went to a technical college, but still, going to college, like an actual university, it's not a couple pennies like, oh, we're going to put some money aside and we'll be fine. No, it's money involved. And you have to know that as a keeping up with the sport. So I say all of that, and then I want to make sure I don't skip over. We do have, like I said, I'm a Kentucky guy. Y'all know that. Cal was already on the fence, or already in the fight before with Memphis when he went through it with Derrick Rose. He went through it at UMass with Marcus Camby. Now, granted, Camby's situation I know was a little different, and it kind of went the way it did, and he felt bad about it afterward. But it's a business. Like, that's the number one point that I really need to have addressed in this whole discussion. At the end of the day, it's a business. College sports is a business, and let's not be biased in how I'm about to say this. The business does not just mean college football, college basketball. We need to, as fans of the sport or of the community, you have to look at it that it's more than just, okay, it's football, okay, it's basketball. Like, Alabama has a great, and if you look at a lot of the teams, it just kind of puts it together. They're going to have one strong and one not so strong. North Carolina, great basketball team. College football, trash. Kentucky, great basketball team. Football, mediocre, potentially trash. Duke, great basketball team. Football, never even know that they even have a team. Now I'm going to go on the opposite side. Alabama, great football program. College basketball, hot garbage. Like, they legit played, they had a good run early on. Trash. Who else we got? Michigan State. Michigan State. Well, I'm sorry, not Michigan State. Michigan State's a bad example. Let's see. Oklahoma. Oklahoma has a good football program. Basketball program. They had one of the biggest names to play there. With Trae Young. Trae Young's gone this year. Whether people realize it or not, he's leaving. That's not even up for debate or possible discussion type of thing. So they mentioned it earlier, and I'm gonna, like I said, I'll mention a couple of schools: Duke, North Carolina, Texas, Kentucky, Michigan State, USC, Kansas. Some of the students that were involved that are current or have previously played: Miles Bridges, Kevin Knox, Wendell Carter, Dennis Smith Jr., Bam Adebayo. And what's tough about a lot of them is most of them got this money before they got to the school. So that's where they're trying to put the process into place. And it's tough because it's all still affiliates. This is a separate process from what happened and went down with the whole Adidas thing. Because the Adidas thing affected the school process a lot. But what's tough about it is, can they really put enough sanctions down to shut all of these schools down? Like, that's what you got to look at and really think about with this happening. And when I say shut down, I'm referring to not having their program, like they're having a team vacate wins or vacate things of that nature. And we'll talk about vacating some of that in a moment. But it's a tough place. It's a very strange situation of it all happening the way it has, but we're here now. And like I said, one of the kids that I mentioned was Miles Bridges. It's strange, but it's not strange that he came back a second year. Now that we think about it, with this story breaking, Miles Bridges was briefly ruled ineligible. He was reinstated after making a $40 donation. Potentially was going to make this ass of the week, but then I thought about it. And I'll read the story and then we'll chop it up as we always do. So Michigan State sophomore Miles Bridges played in Sunday's victory over the Wisconsin Badgers, despite appearing in a Friday report from Pat Ford and Pete Thamel of Yahoo Sports, detailing some of the FBI's investigation into corruption into college basketball. The school offered clarification Monday to how Bridges was deemed eligible so quickly before playing in the win that clinched the Big Ten's regular season title for Michigan State. Brendan F. Quinn of the Athletic passed along the school statement acknowledging an NCAA violation, but to a lesser degree as was reported in Yahoo story. In the course of Friday's internal investigation, while it was determined that the allegations detailed in the Yahoo Sports report were not true, the MSU compliance officers did uncover an NCAA violation. Per standard operating procedures, Miles Bridges was declared ineligible and MSU applied for reinstatement. On Saturday afternoon, MSU received word that Bridges had been reinstated. Last winter, in 2016-2017, Bridges' family members had a dinner with an agent without Bridges' knowledge. As part of the reinstatement process, Bridges was required to pay $40, which was the cost of the dinner, to a charity of his choice. While it is not unusual for reinstatement cases to be handled within a day, Michigan State appreciates the NCAA taking swift action. Brendan F. Quinn then breaks down how this all went. Michigan State offered some clarification on Miles being cleared by NCAA. MSU compliance did uncover an NCAA violation on Bridges' family members for having dinner. He was declared ineligible, then reinstated. This helps clarify what being cleared by the NCAA meant. Michigan State conducted its investigation after Yahoo report. A dinner with an agent was found to be a violation. Bridges was declared ineligible by MSU. Bridges required to pay $40. NCAA reinstated Bridges. This comes after Ford and Thamel cited documents saying Christian Dawkins, a runner from Ford Sports agent Andy Miller, withdrew $400 from an ATM to give Bridges' mother. For his part, Bridges said he was interviewed by Michigan State's compliance office, but not the NCAA, FBI per Quinn. I haven't taken any money. My mom hasn't. It's as simple as that, he said Sunday per Dan Murphy. The reported $400 withdrawal to pay Bridges' mother wasn't the only time the playmaker appeared in the Yahoo report. Murphy noted it also included an email Dawkins sent to Miller detailing a trade that would mean Bridges and other Spartans would eventually join their agency in exchange for a commitment from then recruit Brian Bowen. If anyone remembers the Brian Bowen story, go back a couple of podcasts. He was supposed to go to Louisville. Not sure where he is now, if he's even if he went overseas or what his story was. Bridges' eligibility is critical for a Spartans team looking to parlay its Big Ten regular season championship into a conference tournament. And then they go over his stats and things of that nature. They're projecting him right now to be a number 10 pick with the Knicks based on the draft status as of right now. First question I have, and I'm not really in his pockets because it's not my place to do. Where you get $40 from? Because there's, we're playing it up and saying that he wasn't, he's not getting any money from the school, or he's not getting any money at all. Now, if somebody gave him money, then hey, all well and good. I can't touch that. But it's just odd and ironic that it all went the way it did. And I'm looking at this now because I'm gonna find out if he even is playing for anybody. So did he so he was gonna be playing for South Carolina. Okay, so all right, I got it. So right now he's with the game. Okay, so Brian Bowen is currently with the South Carolina Gamecocks, and he was initially going to be with Louisville, but after all of the mess went down, they more than likely set him out a year on January. Okay, so I'll add this story in because, like I said, we talked about him a while back, so I'll give this a little bit of attention. On November 3rd, at the end of the summer, he enrolled in classes and began participating in preseason team activities and schedule. On September 27th of 2017, Louisville coach Rick Pitino and AD Tom Jurek were placed on administrative leave and eventually dismissed. On the same day, Bowen was also suspended from all team activities, but he continued to be enrolled in the school and he still had his scholarship. On November 3rd, 2017, Bowen was cleared by the FBI. On November 22nd, 2017, Louisville announced that Bowen will not play or practice for the team. Academically, he was still a student in good standing at the time. So on January 10th of this year, university's South Carolina coach Frank Morton announced that he had enrolled at the university and would join the Gamecocks program. The university anticipated that Bowen would have to sit out the next 2 semesters due to transfer regulations. He would be able to begin playing in January of next year. So January of next year, he'll be with the Gamecocks. So good for him. I know that's a tough place to be in, but bad timing on his part. But yeah, so the $40, you got that process going on. But then the other side of it that I'm not even gonna say I'm tripping on, but I'm stuck on is Michigan State can't afford for him to be out the game. They need him right now during this run. Like, of all times, this is not the time for him to miss time or to not be available as an active player on their roster. So Miles Bridges getting past this part is good for him. It's good for Michigan State. We whisked by it a little bit, and I'm not sure if it was addressed before, but I'm going to be the bad guy and go into it. Tom Izzo still hasn't made any comments or addressed anything. And it's shocking, but it's surprising a little bit. Because when they first came to him and talked about this story, he really didn't want to get into it. And to some degree, believe me when I say this, I don't blame him. But I also feel like as a school and as a person, it's part of, and I know I'm always going back to this reference, but it's part of the brand. So you have to, when you think of college basketball and you think of Michigan State, you say Tom Izzo without hesitation. Even with him only getting one championship with Michigan State, you still think of Tom Izzo. There's no separation from that. That's just, it's impossible. I hope that this all kind of clears things up for him and puts him in a good place with the team, or puts him in a good place for his rep. Because his reputation is very, I don't want to say suspect, but his reputation is very concerning. Yeah, they only have one championship. And that was in 2000. They made it to the Final Four a shit ton of times. And they just won. They've just recently won another Big Ten. Big Ten is always a flip flop for that process. But yeah, so Miles Bridges, I'm hoping just kind of can keep his nose. He need to keep his head clear and hope that nothing else comes from this. Comes from the whole situation. Let alone that the $400 payout was not valid. Because if it was, then it's really gonna look bad. Just my personal opinion. Trying to see if it's any other topics that I want to jump on with that before I go into the next one. Because the next one, like I said, I kind of already had teased it anyway. So I'll go ahead and prepare you all for where we are now. So, congratulations goes to Rick Pitino. Thanks to the sex scandal that kind of surfaced. Because mind you, now let's make sure we're being fair about this. FBI probe, Brian Bowen, sex scandal, all separate. All separate stories that happen in and it's bad to say it this way. And this okay, before I even go into this Louisville story, this is the one thing that no one's thinking about. Today is February the 27th. We are, if I was a betting man, I would say we're literally 2 weeks away from, and I don't know why I couldn't just do it the easy way. We're 2 weeks away from March Madness beginning. Because right now we're in that stage where Conference championships are finishing up. We're getting ready to get, well, not conference championship, but like conference play is finishing up. You got conference tournaments about to begin. Championships gonna be probably, you're looking at this week, since it's this week, we'll probably say the 3rd, 4th, and the 5th. You'll start to see some of your mid majors and your majors starting to get their tournaments going, and then we rolling into the 10th and the 11th. Of course, March the 11th will be Selection Sunday. So that all being said, this is not a good time for college basketball to do some dumb shit like this. Like, I'm just putting it out there. But as you all recall, or if you may or may not have remembered, Louisville was involved. Well, not Louisville, but Rick Pitino was involved in a lot of foolishness, involved in a sex scandal, as well as with the situation with Brian Bowen, which we talked about. So we'll just jump right into this story. Louisville officials are not happy with the NCAA's decision that mandates the school vacate its 2013 men's basketball championship in the wake of an embarrassing scandal, and interim president Greg Postel did not hide his disappointment. It's the first time a Division I men's basketball team program has been stripped of a national title. While acknowledging the scandal was unacceptable, Postel believes the school's cooperation with the NCAA should have counted more than it did. But Tuesday, Louisville announced that an NCAA appeals panel had upheld sanctions against the men's program. As a result, the Cardinals have to vacate not only the championship, but 122 other victories and return about $600,000 in conference revenue from the 2012 through 2015 NCAA tournaments. I cannot say this strongly enough. We believe the NCAA is simply wrong. This is the interim president speaking. We disagree with the NCAA ruling for reasons we clearly stated in our appeal, and we made a strong case based on NCAA precedent that supported our argument. Louisville may have presented a strong case, but the NCAA had its own convictions. The decision by the governing body Infraction Appeals Committee ruled that the NCAA has the authority to take away championships for what it considers major rule violations. In the 8-page decision, the NCAA also refuted Louisville's position that the governing body exceeds its boundaries and didn't follow its own precedent established in other cases. Louisville now must forfeit its 3rd NCAA title victories and income from 2011 to 2015, part of the time frame which the violations occurred. The decision is the culmination of the NCAA's investigation that followed allegations in a 2015 book by escort Katina Powell. Katina Powell gets the cred for this one. That former Cardinals basketball staffer Andre McGee hired her and other dancers to strip and have sex with recruits. Former coach Rick Pitino repeatedly denied knowing about the activities described in Powell's book, but the blemish on the program will never be forgotten, not after Tuesday's sanctions. Besides taking down the red and white banner that hung beside the American flag and 2 other title flags in the Cardinals downtown arena, Louisville must erase wins before and after that championship along with other records. That process started almost immediately. Basketball spokesperson Kenny Klein confirmed by Tuesday evening that both the 2013 and 2012 Final Four banners were removed from the rafters at the KFC Yum Center. Postel didn't feel the punishment fits the violations, and he's still pleading for that. Let's see. The dark cloud has hung over our heads more than the past 2 years. I get it. I mean, okay. I'm taking a break mentally because when people, play the, I don't feel like it's right. You coming in, you not knowing what's going on. Now, if he's been at Louisville and he kind of has an idea, then that's one thing. But you coming in from the, as the athletic director or whatever, ain't no telling what could have went down. And I'm not downplaying what happened. Like let's start there first. There has to be for a crime there's a punishment has to be placed. Whether you're fond of or whether you are a fan of the punishment, that's all another story. But it still comes back to the main hit. If it's wrong, it's wrong. And there's no like pretty or funny way of putting it. It shouldn't like this goes into what I was mentioning before. If you're the coach of a team, there's no way in your right mind that you can't sit and tell someone, "Oh, I didn't know that was going on. I just coached the team." Coach K has been with Duke for decades. And there's no way that you can't know a player such as a Wendell Carter was involved in something. I'm still, and like I said, I've kind of let it go because it's not really my shot, and it's surprising, but it's not surprising because Kentucky's recruiting has been a little different this year. Not this year, but the past couple of years. I almost want to say John Wall, like the John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis. Right when you got to like Nerlens Noel and Macaulay Stein, things started to change. And it changed in the sense that the whole college basketball culture did whatever it had to do. Hear me out. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just talking here. I'm not allegating anything. I'm not putting anyone in a position of saying they did something or didn't do something that may or may not apply. But you got to look at this and really wonder to yourself, these people really didn't know what was going on? Like, you can't sit here and, like I said, going back to Duke. In Duke's case, Duke legit has been known for Duke and North Carolina are always going to be known for getting players who stay at least 2 years. Yes, William Avery, Jason Williams, Corey Maggette. You had a couple of guys who did leave early. I'm not taking anything away from those one and dones. Even in North Carolina, you had some one and dones. But most times, if you're going to those programs, you're going there to develop. And you're also going because you have the opportunity of being a part of a legacy. Like most, and it's a tough place to talk. And I'm talking about this, like I said, I know we're supposed to address the sex scandal. I'm going to get into that. But a lot of players, there are some players who go to school to get an education. There are some who go to build a legacy. There are some who are using school to get that 1 year. They get that scholarship. I'm getting it paid for, and oh yeah, those are so if I get drafted, I could get picked in like the top 5 or top 10. This year's draft class is gonna be weird because you already got Michael Porter, who we don't know what we're gonna see because he hasn't played this year. Marvin Bagley, he's been out with a couple of injuries. He just came back, I believe, Saturday. Trayvon Duval, Colin Sexton. We're not sure how many players are going to come out of Kentucky. Like, I'm naming a lot of guys, just naming them, but I have a strong feeling a lot of these guys are gone. Colin Sexton, especially after this allegation, he's gone. Why would you stay at Alabama? Especially with there being a possibility that the school could be impacted by a decision that you made involving your academic eligibility or ineligibility. Coming back to this story, there's no, and I shared the piece about related to Duke because Rick Pitino has been in the game for a long time. It's not like Rick Pitino just started coaching a couple of days ago. He legit, there's no way you can tell me that he didn't know about what was going down as far as players, having escorts and things set up for possible recruits who are looking to come to your school. You don't know anything of now. I guess I'm looking at it from two sides. It's one side of not knowing anything going on, and the other side of being just downright oblivious to it. not knowing what's going on, I can kind of see you may or may not be aware. But if you're acting and playing it as if you're completely oblivious to it, I don't believe it. And that's probably the pettiest or the most bland way of me looking at it. But with my transparent mindset, no, I'm not. You're not gonna sell me with that. You can't sell me with that. Even if you try to sell it, I don't know. And it's possible, but it's not as believable, if that's a good way to put it. So, I mean, Patino. The tough part of like what we're not thinking about or not looking at is now that this has all happened, what's Patino's next option? He can't really come back. It's tough because he could wait a couple years if this all dies down and everything's all right. He may come back and could possibly coach in the NBA. I mean, coaching in basketball again. But what school would even touch him? Would he have to go to a D2 school? Like, what's gonna happen? Like, I know that's the forecast and the projection of like down the pike type of deal, but it's something to really think about because this season is practically over. Next season, he's not gonna. They're not like Louisville's not touching him at all. And in all fairness, and I hate to say it, that Bland, I don't blame him. I wouldn't touch him either. So it's just that process of where his next destination is going to be as a coach or as an individual. He might just walk away from the game because it might be that time. Like Father Time is still undefeated. Like Rick Pitino is not young. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But I did want to make sure I gave that story its full, gave a little bit more attention to it than just saying, all right, it happened, it's done, it's over with. But at least letting you all know, like, yeah, it was a lot more. Like, it was affiliated, but it wasn't affiliated with the, like I said, the FBI process. That was one thing. But then on top of that, the actual situation related to, the sex scandal or the sex alleged part, like him being a coach and acting like he ain't know. I'm not believing that. I'm not. And I know that's kind of bad to say it that way, but it's just reality. I don't know why I'm like, it's like I'm sitting here trying to have my setup to not make noise, but then it's like, all right, well, Brian, let's just let people know that you're just here and you're loud. Hold on 1 second because I got a feeling this about to make some noise. Okay, cool. Yep. They're going to show me this video like 1,000 times. All right. So, chipping at a little bit of football as I'm looking at the basketball tab. Carolina, and normally I'm not selfish, but I am going to be selfish. Like, Carolina finally made a decision on who they would be hiring as a GM. I don't know why this is an old story. Like, I might have okay. Like, I'm sitting here like, okay, so he was an interim. So he initially was the interim GM back in July of last year. But he was officially announced as the permanent GM. And that is Marty Herney. So on Wednesday, the Panthers hired interim GM Herney, who was a GM in Carolina from 2002 to 2012. To fill the permanent role once again. I felt, and he issued a statement, I felt a strong connection to this organization and viewed this job as one of the very best in the NFL because of the people here. Mr. Jerry Richardson and Tina Becker have been open and honest with me from the beginning. I am thankful for the trust that they have placed in me. I gained a lot of perspective being away and then back in an interim role last season. I feel that I am the best person to help Ron Rivera and his team moving forward. We really have a special core of players in place. And I'm extremely excited about the direction we're headed. Interviews were held at the beginning of February with multiple candidates, and Herney was considered the front runner. Allegations of harassment and a request for a restraining order were filed against Herney's ex-wife, Jean, and Herney was placed on paid administrative leave on February 4th. The restraining order was then denied by a local judge who cited a lack of evidence, and Jean Herney withdrew the allegations. An NFL investigation into Herney and allegations An NFL investigation into Hurney and the allegations ensued. Last week, Hurney was cleared by the league to become a candidate for the GM position once again. Hurney was named interim GM in July 17, shortly after former GM Dave Gettleman was fired. The hiring decision comes just a week before the NFL scouting combine and about 3 weeks before free agency begins. Becker, the Panthers' chief operating officer, was involved in the hiring decision with input from owner Richardson. Richard is also involved in an NFL investigation after a December Sports Illustrated report detailed allegations of sexual and racial workplace misconduct. Richardson announced the evening of the report's release that he would sell the team, and that process is currently ongoing in the league's investigation, as is the league's investigation. We are very fortunate to have him here. They just, kind of do their PR ending and all that jazz. And the story will be updated accordingly. It's a step in the right direction. And I'm taking off. I'm like, oh no, my podcast stopped recording. I was about to have a fit. It may have missed a couple of seconds, but anyway, we'll be positive. I don't really have a huge push or pull with this story because, I'm not saying that, he's just a GM. He's a person. He could make the right decisions between the upcoming draft, free agency, because free agency has been kind of unkind to us over the last few years, and I'm saying us as a true Carolina fan. But I feel like any change that can lead a team in the right direction, I'm all for it. And obviously with Carolina, there's no exception. So I like what this is bringing and what this can bring for the team. So I'm just going to kind of, I'm as a fan, I'm going to be supportive of the movement. But I'm also still going to know that we're the Cardiac Cats for a reason, because we do things ass backwards on purpose. And I always to this day will never understand why. But that's why being a fan of the sport puts you in a different space than being a player on the team. So I keep that in mind as well. So jumping, like I said, I'm giving that. I just wanted to add that story in because I know it's been a lot of stories going on with Carolina, and then with Richardson leaving and him selling his part of the team. Him being the owner, and he looked like he was kind of scared for what happened. So getting good news out of the base of the Panthers is a good thing. Gonna jump a little, and then, like I said, I know we did college basketball, but got a small, brief pro NBA update. Before I get into this story, I may look at implementing this because it could be helpful. Each week, the ESPN usually does power rankings. First things first, I'm gonna be directly honest. Power rankings can be very biased and can be very unfigurable, because you can look at a team and you can measure hey, they're winning these games, or if they take one loss might send you from being ranked 5th in the league to being ranked 12th in the league, and it's but they only lost one game. Yeah, but these teams won a game, or they lost a game as well, but it's the analysts who do them, you can't, it's tough because you could ask, right now you can ask 10 people who their top 5 NBA teams are in the league right now, and all 10 of them will give you different answers. Some may stick to the consistency, but as far as do you put Cleveland in? Do you put Boston in the top 3? Things of that nature comes into play, especially if you're doing it without stats. So I'm sharing that, and it'll kind of tie into this story a little bit as well with Kawhi Leonard. So I was looking at the power rankings on ESPN. Like I said, I take it with a grain of salt, but it's one of those things it's still fun to read and still kind of good to keep up on. San Antonio is ranked 3rd in the West. I want you to understand, they're ranked 3rd in the West without Kawhi Leonard. LaMarcus Aldridge, even though he made the All-Star game, he made the All-Star team, had a note. He he played. I felt like it was a no-show, but I understood why in a sense too, because the type of game that the All-Star plays, being chosen for the All-Star game, it's tough. Like, and no one's gonna ever say this. I'm probably gonna be the bad guy to go there. Tim Duncan earned every All-Star appearance that he made. Not gonna take away from that. Tim Duncan playing in an All-Star game looked weirder each year because he really wasn't. He doesn't have that. He's not like a highlight reel that you're gonna say, "Oh, Tim Duncan, did a flashy move," and nah, he's like, square up in the basket, throw it off the glass, basic, simple to the point. That's him. He hasn't changed that. He has no plans of changing that. And in all fairness, I don't knock him for that. Kawhi Leonard was the same, in his appearances. LaMarcus Aldridge is the same thing. Like, LaMarcus Aldridge is a square up, shoot off the odd, off his off shoulder, things of that nature. I'm giving all of that and I know I'm giving you the story, but I'm just preparing you for what's coming. So you have Houston as top, you have Golden State that's in that mix, Boston, you look at Toronto, Cleveland I think is in there in that conversation, and you have San Antonio. Now, San Antonio is in a very weird place right now. There was a possibility that Kawhi was going to possibly be able to come back for this season. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think he's going to play this year. In this article, they kind of, like I said, this article was written a while back. Actually, it was written last week. Now, a lot has changed since then because now it's almost like it's a camp. And I hate using that term because I know in sports it's tough to look at it like, well, who is this camp? Like, what is he, Camp Leonard or something? Like, just, what? Hold on. But, to give the story, despite him being cleared for having medical clearance to return to the court, Kawhi Leonard has decided to continue his recovery from his right quad injury that cost him most of this season. According to Woj, because I'm not going to even try to pronounce that name, Leonard only will play if he has decided he can manage the pain of the injury. Woj's report came today. The Spurs head coach Greg Popovich cast doubt on Leonard returning at any point this year. Pop said he'd be surprised if Leonard plays again between now and the end of the season, citing how little time is left in the regular season for the two-time All-Star to get ready for the playoffs. Leonard didn't make his 2017 or 2018 debut until the team's 95-89 loss to the Mavericks back on December 12th. He played in 9 games before the Spurs announced that he'd be out indefinitely to continue his recovery from the quad injury. Woj and Michael Wright reported that the Spurs' handling of Leonard's injury has been a source of consternation. I'm making sure I looked at that right because I'm dyslexic. And had a chilling impact on the relationship between the team and Leonard. In that report, Spurs GM R.C. Buford acknowledged Leonard's recovery has been difficult for everyone, but he insisted there is no issue between the Spurs organization and Kawhi. Now, first things first, and I know I say that frequently when I'm about to get into some good shit, but I'm saying this because it's relevant to the story. There's a very weird place with this injury or with this process between Kawhi's injury, Kawhi as a player, the Spurs organization, Greg Popovich. I feel like Pop, first and foremost, I'll be the bad guy. I feel like Pop and Kawhi are fine. I feel like Kawhi and the Spurs organization are in limbo. I need a double check or verifying in my mind to remember as far as his scenario with his injury, because between his injury and his salary status, because when you're hot, you're hot. Like that's the obvious statement that you can always go with. But right now you're running into that very dark area. So I'm looking. So currently this year, he's making, as my tablet tries to break, 18.8 million. Next year he's expected to get 20 million, and 2019 season is his player option, where he can either decide if he wants to stay or if he wants to go. This is important to address because if your chemistry is not in the right place with the organization, it's going to show as the season progresses or as his career progresses. Because if I'm looking at this correctly, and if I'm making sure I'm factoring this in right, he's well out of his rookie contract, obviously. But that being said, I don't feel like he's gonna stay with the Spurs. I doubt they can't do it. Obviously, they can't do anything free agency wise with him this year. But during the offseason, well, not during the offseason, but during the regular season, depending on what happens, there's a chance that he could be traded next year. Where and how they're going to pull the trade off to get him in the right place, I don't know. But that's my initial projection. Now, my added projection and my tough part that I'm going to look at on the opposite end of it is maybe this is all just going on because he's not very pleased as far as how his rehab is going. Because rehab hasn't been like a ooh and ah, like we're proud and it's been going great. Like that's that much I can see, and it's pretty evident from what you can look at. But the reality of it is the Spurs organization is now in the place of it's not even to the point of competing with the West. I mean, competing with, trying to get into the playoffs. Because getting into the playoffs is not hard for the Spurs, especially in the West, because they can win games with a bunch of guys who just are out there dedicated and devoted to the game. That part is minor. The challenge comes into play of competing with the Houstons, competing with the Golden State. Because everyone still believes to this day, if there was any team that could have gave Golden State a run last year, it was San Antonio. And when that injury happened to Kawhi, it could have been a mental shutdown. We don't really know. And that's what makes this kind of back and forth bit tougher to deal with in so many instances. But I like him as a player. Whether anyone can deal with his blandness of personality or not, he fits the style of the Spurs. The adjustment to me, and this is random and this is just my personal perspective, is a lot of change came around him. When they went to the finals and they beat the Cavaliers. Let me make sure I get this. I'm sorry. Was the Cavs? No, rewind. When they went to the finals and beat the Heat, because that was the last year that the Heat were together, and then LeBron got traded, and yeah. You had Tim Duncan with a couple of years left. You had Tony Parker and his still kind of finishing up his run. Ginobili was your key third option. Pau Gasol hadn't even came there yet. I think T-Mac hadn't even thought. It was a lot of things that had changed that were in a good culture at that time. So if you look at the culture, the stage being the way it was for that point, and you look at where the Spurs are now, the Spurs have a good team. Like, don't get me, don't let what I'm saying like throw you off. Because Devontae Murray is good. Gerald Green is not Gerald Green. Danny Green is good. Danny Green is a very hot shooter that Pop is going to continue to pay regardless because you don't really get many shooters in the NBA. The rookie, well, he's not a rookie anymore. He's been in the league for a couple years. Anderson from UCLA, he's pretty nice. Aldridge, of course, went through, I think from what I've observed, Aldridge went through a mental phase for a few seasons, especially with leaving from Portland and being kind of like the go-to, like it was the Aldridge Dillard show, Aldridge Lillard show, and it was a change, and it kind of just happened the way it did. Now you're in like the new stage, and it's an adjustment for everybody. I feel like it's bound to get better though. But as far as him as a player, like I said, I don't see him. I'm not really seeing him play this year. Because it could be, I don't think it's based on contracts. I just think it's more so the organization. And they're trying to like figure out what the next step is and where things stand. And Kawhi's a very soft-spoken person or player. So him trying to like really address that publicly, not going to happen. Someone mentioned like he should just come out and address the topic and deal with it. And I'm like, that's not how he works, and that's not how it will happen. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but neither one of those things is gonna go down. Whether you wanted to or not, it's not gonna go down that way. Just don't even get your hopes up. So that's where we're at right now with the Kawhi story. In all fairness and in hindsight, I do wish him a speedy and a healthy recovery, because whether people can admit it or not, he's one of the best basketball players in the NBA. You won't really see many, like between him, Jimmy Butler, those are probably one of the few players. Those are the two players that I can think of right offhand that are two-way players. And I know that's probably gonna say, well, what about LeBron? What about Durant? Durant is becoming a two-way player. Durant scoring wise, he's gonna score all day. Defense, he's gotten away a couple of times on not being as willing to take on the defensive role of checking whoever your star is. Like, I'm not gonna say, granted, I'm not expecting Durant to check Westbrook. I'm not expecting LeBron to check Durant. I'm not expecting LeBron to check Aldridge. Like, I would expect, and I mean, he's been put in those positions to do that. But I'm saying it as, when it comes to like on the defensive end, Kawhi Leonard takes that chance. Jimmy Butler takes that chance. LeBron takes chances. I think LeBron now has gotten older. LeBron learning the chase down blocks are gone. You can forget that. Durant can still get chase down blocks since he got a couple years on LeBron. But it's more him preparing for the offensive end. And I mean, with Golden State being the way they are, you have Draymond Green. So you don't need, like, and it's crazy. Like, I don't really consider Draymond a two-way player. Even though Draymond's made all-star appearances, Draymond offensively is not that beneficial. Defensive, I'll take him all day, but he's a crutch to me on offense. Like, him and Zaza Pachulia looks like watching paint dry, just telling it like it is. So that's where I'm at and how I'm looking at the team as a whole. I don't know why I'm looking. I wish I could see my setup, like, because I'm, like I said, I normally do my shows at the library, but today I'm home, I'm chilling. I got like my setup getting together. Might be doing some things, working on some stuff soon. I'm not gonna really tell too much of it yet, but I'm sitting here and I'm like looking at my tablet, and I got on a new stand. And the stand that it's on, like when I move my screen or adjust things, my stand has like a tilt where it's like to an angle. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, why do I feel like this tablet is about to fall? But it's not. Like the stand that it's on is fine, but it's just new. So we're gonna be saddened because this might be our past. This is one of our passes. This isn't, obviously it's not at the end, but this is a pass today to talk about it. But the Winter Olympics are officially over. I'm very sad. Really, I'm not. But it is it. I will admit the Winter Olympics kind of come and go pretty quick. Like even the Summer Olympics is about the same period of time, whether we realize it or not. But the Winter Olympics, and I may have to retract that because I think Summer Olympics is it's a couple like a few weeks longer. But the Winter Olympics was 2 weeks. Literally, it was like here today, gone tomorrow. The Olympics did reach the home stretch. Closing ceremonies have already happened. One of the big stories to talk about is because I've been talking to y'all about it, and I watched some of the matches as they were being played. The U.S. men's curling team did win gold. They beat Sweden 10-7. It is the first American curling gold medal in Olympic history. They spoke with John Schuster, who said, "It's a dream. It's just fantastic." Sweden did get silver, and Switzerland took bronze. Now they don't have this in this story, and I'm like the link that I shared just kind of goes over an overview of most of the final, couple of the last few nights before the closing ceremony. There was a point where they gave the awards as far as the medals, and instead of giving the men's medals, they gave them the women's gold medals, which was weird, but that happened. So wanted to make sure I pointed that out as well. I don't really. I'm glad, like as far as for the medal count and everything, I believe Germany was pretty much ahead with no kind of really. They didn't really have to look back too much. Let me make sure because I believe I counted that correctly for the medal count. Give me a second. Because usually in most cases I have information. Okay. All right. Here we go. So U.S. was fourth, which is a great thing. Norway was first. I remember it was either Norway or Germany because they were kind of like battling for a while. Norway was first with 39 medals. Germany was second with 31. Canada third with 29. USA fourth with 23. And I will say for the count of the benefit of teams, there was one country who I really wanted to talk about because I was excited that they did win a medal. I don't know if it was Kenya. I can't remember. But anyway, there were as far as for gold counts overall, Norway had 14, Germany had 14, Canada had 11. But all in all, from what I've gathered or from my minimal observations of the Olympics was pretty good this year. Like it wasn't like a ooh and ah like most people. I mean, you're never going to expect ooh and ahs from the Olympics, but the time that it's on, you can always guarantee that you're going to get good content or good performances from those who participate and are involved. So that's mainly where that all went. And we're now at the segue, as I like to call it, the midpoint. And I know we chopped up an hour's worth of content just on sports. Because I told y'all, the FBI probe was going to be hunger. That was food. Like, that was a lot of information. A lot of things went down. So we're now, like I said, we're into the stuff. And this week is no exception with stuff. Because normally it's like, okay, we're going to talk about a couple of things and get into a little bit of what's going down. But I can definitely say that we had a lot of stuff in store. The first topic that I actually have is there's an event that I've just learned about from doing a podcast, because I don't recall talking about this last year. It's based in Spain or in Barcelona, Spain, however you want to put it. It is called the MWC, or the Mobile World Congress. There was a presentation and a production of new tech and new things that we're getting prepared for. It actually started day one. Day one of everything was yesterday, on the 26th. As of right now, there have been a lot of things that have been unveiled. I'm going to kind of give a few things that I was able to read up on and see about, and then we'll kind of just chop it up about some stories that have hit. So first thing they mentioned is that there's a smart speaker that's going to be coming out for Samsung called the Bixby, which is kind of going to be the competitor for the HomePod. That's coming out the second half of this year. Sony introduced their Xperia XZ2 and XZ2 Compact. McAfee is going to work on security, with the Alexa action. Okay, forgot that I can't do that. Google's is going to have, they're going to have support for, McAfee is working with the main speakers. Support for Google Assistant and Apple Siri is coming. The Moto G6 didn't make it, but it's coming soon. So they kind of had like a little space holder for that. 5G is ready. 5G is coming. Like we've had 4G for a couple of years, and a lot of questions and a lot of concerns have come up about getting faster service. So, where are we at with 5G? Asus Zenfone Max Plus is coming out. They talked about a phone called headline features. Unfortunately, you can't buy them yet. This is Chinese manufacturer Vivo's glimpse of future phones, and we checked out the Apex concept at this year's MWC. As a concept phone, there were some pretty cool features, but they didn't always behave themselves. Make sure you check out how we got on with the Apex concept. Of course, Samsung launched the Galaxy S9 and the S9 Plus. I'm going to briefly get into some things that I got from that video. The banana phone is back. They're donning it as such. It is the Nokia 8110. They talk about the Nokia. That Nokia brought out their Android phones. Hawaii is bringing out their phone, which I'm not too big on. Hawaii is not a big company to me for a phone. We're still stuck with Blackberries. And that's mainly everything I have so far that has been talked about. They went over a couple of the Hawaii devices. The MateBook X Pro looks like it's a mimic of the MacBook. Then they talked about the Hawaii Media Pad, Sony's devices. LG made their appearance. ZTE was there. A couple of ZTE devices. Alcatel, to name a few. The best way I can state it is if you have if you're reading the show notes, I have a link, and in the link gives everything that has or is being talked about so far. I like when it comes to tech is always gonna be like a talking piece. I'm not gonna bash or badmouth an event like this because it's for everyone. A lot of times the assumption of it is, if they don't have anything Mac or anything Apple, I don't want to deal with it or address it. But for the PR and for the benefit of the future and for the change, it's not the worst thing in the world, whether you realize it or not. I truly think that technology is going to always grow. The challenging with technology growing is when it grows and the cost grows with it, and you're looking at people's budgets and their budgets can't handle what's being charged. That's where the problems usually lie when it comes to things of that nature. So, like I said, if you want to read over everything that they have, it's quite a bit going on with the MWC and all that it brings. I will admit, in reading the stories, the Nokia 8110 that they did mention, that looks like, or the reference, a little banana. It's a very compact and convenient phone. I do like the fact that, and I'm kind of going on a whim because I'm not using the phone. I'm going to assume by the screen size that it's touchscreen, but it looks like it still is giving you both options to still go T9 T9 or using your regular everyday traditional keypad. So I do like that option. That's mainly all I got on MWC right now. So that's how that is all playing out. They play this video on the screen. Okay. So last Thursday, and I knew they was gonna do it. That's why I'm glad I paused it. They determined that I'm gonna watch this video. They really are determined. They're gonna put it like in every way possible. Samsung Galaxy S9 dropped yesterday. The keynote for it was supposed to be last Thursday, if I'm remembering correctly. I might be wrong, but I can pinpoint it. I feel like it was the 22nd. But regardless, we came, we saw, we're here. I'm glad. It begins the tech talk, because that means Samsung brings out their device. Apple's going to bring out something that's not revolutionary. If you don't know me as of now, I am the unbiased but honest and transparent podcaster when it comes to technology. In the Mac category, no problem. Like they change things and they make adjustments. Still haven't used the touch bar. Don't know how to feel about it. I know that's like random, but on most devices, they make small tweaks that are under most of their tweaks and adjustments are under the hood. If you really want to get right down to it. And with this device, with the Samsung S9, it's the exact opposite. The changes are huge. Their main slogan their flagship handset with the slogan has it as the camera reimagined. There were a lot of improvements. They have introduced AR emojis, which I feel like is the response to the Animojis. They're stating that those emojis are available to be seen on any device, which I'm waiting to see how that's going to go. You get 18 personalized emojis. So when you create your AR mode, so all right, tech time, because I know I'm always like talking with things and I don't really explain it very clear, so I'm going to do that with this one. On the Samsung device, and they show this and I like the link that I share with you all kind of does this very precisely. Well, what they do is they say, okay, we're going to just explain to you what the keynote is without you having to look at every single thing that happened, condense it into an 11-minute video, and you'll get everything you need to know. And that's pretty much what happened. They basically are taking their camera, whether it's the front face camera or the rear view camera, whichever you choose. You take a picture of yourself and you become an emoji. And they call it AR emojis. So you take that emoji, it's an animated version of you, and you can change your person to make it, if you want to add, remove hair, adjust things, give them an outfit, things of that sort. And then you can have your person get different feelings like sad, happy, angry, smug face, whatever terms you want to call them. They brought that in, and they're stating that it's going to be available on both. Like, I guess if you send it to other users who have iPhones and things of that nature, they'll be able to see it. I personally like it. I think it's funny because it's what it's what iPhone is doing with the Animoji, but also Animoji was kind of calling itself trying to be exclusive, but the exclusivity of the Animoji was a turn off to me. And I'm saying, I can say it now because it's just the honest truth. when something comes out, they bring it out on newer devices to see how it works, and if it plays well, then they'll bring it down to other devices. Other features with the Galaxy S9, there's the camera adjustment, video recording at 960 frames per second, which basically means if you're doing a slow motion, you can slow things down even more. You can get better quality images or videos. The phone is pretty camera focused. I know I emphasize camera because that's a lot of people who get phones want to get good pictures. I know Google Pixel, that was kind of Google Pixel's staple, was how simple it was to take a selfie. A lot of people take 1,000 selfies a day. You're talking to someone who might have, out of all my pictures, I can count, out of 8,000 something posts, I would say probably 1,000 of them are pictures of me. I'm going to be honest. The micro SD slot is on the device. Of course, to throw shade at Apple, which I don't blame them. They do have the headphone jack. I feel like Apple may go backwards and introduce the headphone jack back to the device. That's me. If they don't, I don't care, because my preference personally is Bluetooth, but that's me, because I don't have to have a headphone jack. Like, I don't like the jack, the lightning port headphones. I use them very minimally, and I mean, you like, as far as the dongle, I literally bought if any of this is an Apple side tip, random, just to share with listeners. If you have a Apple device and you feel like there's a possibility you may use your headphones more than using the lightning port or using Bluetooth, there's an adapter that's on Amazon. I think I got it for like $5 or $6. A lot of people think it's expensive, but for what I've used, for me having it, I haven't lost my my little dongle since having it. Where basically you connect it to your keychain, and it's got a piece on it like it's a headphone plug, and you just plug the dongle into it and you just carry it around with you. So in the event that, let's just say I might need it, I can just pull it off of that and hook it to my phone or hook it up to my tablet. But I don't use it, so it's not a hurt or harm, but it's there as needed. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I look at it and how it's beneficial. But returning to the main point, Samsung did throw proper shade, and I professionally take that shade as far as the headphone jack being there. Now, I'm sorry, two other things, and then I'm going to make a comment. So they did, for the ladies, if you are into seeing what you would look like based on specific makeups, they have what's called a virtual makeup feature, where if they put the lipstick, they'll kind of have your face, and like they'll factor lipstick that you're looking at and say, hey, this is how you would look with this lipstick. Ooh, I like it. That way I don't have to actually physically use lipstick, especially with a lot of germaphobes and OCD people, things of that nature. The translate menus live is a huge turn on. Apple needs to get it together. Sorry, just gonna tell it like it is. Because I would love to have features like that when I'm somewhere eating and I look at the menu and I'm confused. And that's in America. Like, you would love to have a feature like that can break things down and say, oh, so this is what this means, without having to download another app to do that. So I will give Samsung and I will give the Galaxy S9 props for that. Now, what this would mean, if I'm thinking ahead, is if you have an S7 or an S8, do you get updates that get these features, or are these features strictly for the S9? So I'm thinking about that as well. So now I'm going to give my little sidebar, my little side comment, because I always like to bring up things that just are random because it's key to point out. Has anyone ever noticed that keynotes, anytime they do a keynote or a talk about a new product or something, that it always looks awkward? Like, the people who are trying to like present the product look like they don't know what they're doing. It's like they use the device for the first time. Like when they used, I forgot which one it was. It was the iPhone 7, and they were introducing the animated emojis Not the animojis like the animals, but it was like the animated emojis that could do different things, and it was on the watch, and it was like it was the worst thing in the world. Like my biggest thing that I don't understand is if you're gonna present something, there's time and there's opportunity for you to practice and fix everything that y'all should have corrected, have clarified before getting on stage. And they don't, for whatever reason, they don't do that. They just go up there and they just start like talking about it. And then it's like, all right, well, this is what we're going to talk about and this is what we're going to get into. And it's like, no. You can't go on stage and just start rambling about a product. Like, it's just like going on stage when they introduce this Sony, like when they introduce a system that's supposed to, we'll say the Xbox, and they introduce the Kinect, but they don't get the Kinect to work properly. It defeats the whole purpose of having it. If you weren't going to utilize that feature or that option, then don't have it up there. Like, it's just that simple. That's just my personal 2 cents on that. So those are the things that I got personally from the Galaxy S9, based on the keynote, how they broke down in 11 minutes. I didn't watch the full keynote. I really didn't even realize that, because I thought it was last week. I didn't have a chance to watch it, but I more than likely, and that's probably what I will do, because I usually like to do that anyway, is watch the full keynote and see what was the hit, what was the miss, what did they get right, what did they get wrong, so I can understand like where Apple is going to kind of utilize what they told and kind of, I guess, come up with a response. I don't know. I doubt it, but it's just me talking shit. Next up, the Twitch services have decided that they're going to do a game show called Stream On. Now, to give a slight backstory, this was talked about before. It got a little bit of attention back in December, but now they're actually getting to the point where it's all about to happen. So in last December, Twitch did announce that it would be making a live streaming reality show called Stream On. In it, Twitch creators who need a boost to make streaming a full-time gig compete against one another in a series of challenges, Survivor style, for a grand prize of $60,000 delivered across 12 months. Now the details are out, with the live game show set to debut with 14 competitors on March the 8th at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. With Stream On, you'll get to see up-and-coming Twitch partners judge on their ability to perform various essential skills for streaming, like motivating viewers with a call to action. You'll also be able to take part via a custom interactive overlay, which will let you vote on who to eliminate after each round. The 14 participants include competitive gamers, of course, but also chefs, musicians, and other creative artists, including 88-Bit Music, Banzai Baby, Sierra Corella, Cooking for Noob, Ferociously Steph, Gland FM, Koibu, Majin Taj, Suki Kuchi, names are great, The Buttress, The Only Ryan, The Stacy Roy, Wavy, and X Mira. And they actually show you the profiles of all of the competitors as well. This isn't the first original programming for the streaming platform, of course. With Twitch Weekly, Fresh Stock, and the mini documentary Iron Sights already in place. The idea with the new game show is to help expose the contestants to Twitch viewers, as well as teach everyone how to successfully stream via the Twitch platform. Our mission at Twitch is to enable creators to make a living doing what they love, said Twitch's Marcus Graham in a statement. With Stream On, our goal is to help not just these 14 streamers, but show the thousands at home how to turn their passions into a career. So now that I'm reading the story for this, I actually am going to be honest in saying I think this is going to be a good concept. It's beneficial exposure for those who are streaming or participating in the competition, but those watching and wanting to figure out how do I become a better streamer, or what do I need to do to get in streaming, This will show you kind of everything A to Z what you need as far as your computer handling, your, testing your interaction. Like the reason, and no one really thinks about this or factors this in, and I always go back to him as an example because I can always remember when he first started, or when I first started watching him rather. Seeing Tim as a streamer and his interactive ability with his viewers, not everyone can interact the way he does. And personally, I wouldn't want everyone to interact the way he does. But I notice with him, he gives his best effort to his streaming. And that's what you're supposed to do that anyway, but he really does that. Like he makes streaming like it's his baby. And his stream is his love child. And he gives every bit of his effort to it. And as with many streamers who produce content or create content, they make it their intent to be sure that everything that they share or present is available right offhand without any delay or any problems, anything of that sort. So I enjoy it. I feel like he's on the right path for what he's doing. Not him. I'm saying, let me rephrase that. He's doing, his show is killing it, but the streaming, the concept that Twitch has in helping up and coming streamers, I love it. I think this is going to be like a good icebreaker to get those who are unsure or thinking about streaming, to kind of give them a template on how streaming works, behind the scenes and what we do or don't see and things of that sort. So I'm looking forward to it. The first episode is actually Thursday, and I'll be back at work. But knowing the internet, they likely will have episodes on demand, so I can just go back and look at them and things of that nature. Now they didn't say, but I'm gonna assume it's gonna be on the Twitch stream for when they actually are gonna go live and showing these shows. So I want to see how it's all gonna turn out. Now my $1 million question before we continue is, are these going to be is this all been pre-recorded, or are these going to legit be live streams and we're going to get feedback and response and breakdowns about it right as it's being played? And we'll find that out on Thursday, whether how edited or unedited it is, with it being set up. Next up, the Smash community. Many people who are big Smash fans knows about a venue in Baltimore called Xanadu. And I bring bad news, but not in a bad way, because they are making it clear that there's a possibility that there's more in store. And I feel bad because I didn't get to watch the full ending of the last tournament they did, because they may have given some information that I may have to look up and find out. So I'm going to probably be multitasking looking for that. Let's see. Normally I don't do this, but y'all know I don't care. So the Smash Xanadu had their has been one of the Super Smash Brothers most notable weeklies for years. But this weekend will be the end of an era, or this past weekend will be the end of an era. Xanadu will be closing its doors after its last hurrah, one more Smash Bros. Tournament. Dubbed Xanadu End of an Era, both the Smash 4 and Melee events this weekend will feature big names like Nairo, Mr. E, Chudat, and Hacks, alongside the local talent pool in Arbutus, Maryland, at the Xanadu Game Store. And I say Baltimore, but it's like right in that area. Matthew Apostle Lofton and Calvin Gimmer Lofton, co-founders of VG Bootcamp, made the announcement that Xanadu would be closing last month on VGBC's YouTube channel. The team had been hosting the weeklies at Xanadu for years and took over the store with Matthew as manager 3 years ago. But as he says, all good things must come to an end. Then they have a video that kind of goes over that full scenario. The video doesn't end on a sour note, however. We are currently working on a partnership that will lead to something even bigger and better, said Matthew Lofton. But we don't have the paper signed yet, so we don't want to make any promises at this point. In a follow-up conversation with me today, Calvin said that the owners of the space wanted another 2 years while the Loftons are looking to grow. Xanadu hit a growth ceiling. Lofton told Compete. We really want to help grow our local Smash Bros. And fighting game scenes. We were okay with coasting while looking for a partner or another venue, but our landlords wanted us to sign a 2-year lease. That's far too long and gives us no room to grow. We even had to put a cap on this final event because the space wasn't big enough. The lease we're on right now ends at the end of February, so that's why we're ending where we are. Calvin also teased at the R Smash Bros subreddit today that a special video might be coming after the event is over. In the meantime, this is a good opportunity to celebrate the legacy of what might have been one of the first ever weeklies with Smash Bros. At Xanadu, there were pop-offs. There were proposals. There were pop-offs. There were heartwarming tales of a kid going to his first Smash Bros. Tournament ever. Whatever VGBC is planning next for the Maryland scene, it's worth taking the time to cherish the local tournament scenes. As the industrial construct of esports grows bigger and bigger around us, it's good to remember that it all started in the grassroots down in tournaments like Smash at Xanadu. You can follow up the day's action over at the VG Bootcamp Twitch channel. And they did state that, they did give an update stating that a video shown at the end of the Xanadu tournament revealed that it will be moving to a new locale in Laurel Park. The new venue will be 3 times the size of the old one, and weeklies will start back up on March 26th. So that's what you call ending things on a good note, which I'm all for that anyway. I feel like Smash always does things like, well, let me rewind. Xanadu has always done it the right way, because with Sax you literally had so there. Now in this article they strictly talk about Smash, and they talk about Melee, and they talk about 4. What you don't hear about is they actually did do Tekken matches there. They would do like Tekken, or they would do Street Fighter matches as well. So it wasn't strictly just Smash. They have it like their venue covers what a venue we have here I would like to see get to. But I also know gaming is one of those things that you have to get it in the right hands at the right time. I've talked to my roommate about this in just general conversation. Even people who play games such as NBA 2K or Madden or FIFA or whatever, even if they just playing it with their boys and they just chilling at the crib, you're a gamer. Whether you want to claim to be a gamer, and whether you may or may not be around a bunch of nerds that's heavy in the game and on their level, you're a gamer. And you have to embrace that in your way, on your time, I guess is a good way to put it. But I can be the first to say, like, the time that I've watched Smash at Xanadu be played, I've always been locked in, because they make sure that they give good content. And then too, VG Bootcamp makes it even more beneficial because of the fact that they truly carry it right over into major tournaments like SmashCon. SmashCon this year, if I knew enough about Smash, I would go see it. Like, I would go to a SmashCon, like stay the whole 9, like, because it's literally like the Smash community put into one town. Like Evo, like, and that's the other part of it. Events like Evo, CEO, Winter Brawl, those tournaments or events have all of the fighting tournaments. You don't have like a Street Fighter. The only closest thing you'll get to a Street Fighter only tournament is Capcom. Like, if Capcom is hosting the tournament and it's just Capcom, then that's it. You're gonna have your Street Fighter. You may, that's basically all you're gonna have. Because Tekken is under Namco, so it's not like you're hearing about, oh, we got the Namco tournament, Namco presents. No, it's Capcom strictly. So Smash has definitely made their mark, and it's good that they're going to a new venue. I look forward to their new venue being set up, and that kind of being the next step in where they're going. Wishing them nothing but the best. And at some point, I may try to make a trip up there if I'm lucky. So we'll see where life puts me in regards to that. Now we get to our, what I like to call, as I always talk about, my favorite part of the show. Well, one of my favorite parts of the show. Because, like I said, sports, I love talking sports. Anybody who knows me knows I have a sports talk all day. Tech, music, games, go into that all the time, too. I blend and implement a couple music pieces in there, too. Before I get into our artist spotlight, however, I do want to share a couple of things. If you're a hip-hop fan, I would recommend listening to Nipsey Hussle's album. Please listen to that album. Maul and Joe Budden, Rory, I know y'all. I listen to y'all show. Like I said, if y'all listen to me, small part of the podcast community, I can admit that Nipsey intro for the most recent episode, I was locked in. But I know Maul mentioned it on one episode about Sci-Hi, and I listened to Sci-Hi at one point, didn't realize it. Friend of mine posted their music, and I was like, okay, let me go back and listen. And I'm listening to the album. I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot all about this album. So those are some good albums to listen to. To kind of give a teaser, since today, like I said, Artist Spotlight is a new one, because normally I am very out of the, quiet on doing indie art. Well, not indie artists, but artists who are not really as big, but this artist to me is big, and I'm gonna go into PJ Morton's story today. The son of fellow recording artist Bishop Paul S. Morton, PJ Morton is a versatile musician, songwriter, and producer who has been involved in contemporary gospel, contemporary rock, and R&B recording since the early 2000s. In 2002, he released an album with his short-lived group Freestyle Nation, and contributed to India Arie's Grammy-winning album Voyage to India. During the next few years, he released genre-crossing independent albums such as Emotions and Perfect Song, while collaborating with Anthony David, Faith Evans, Monica, and Kiara Kiki Shared. During these years, his biggest success was the gospel hit Let Go, written for Dwayne Woods. Morton's 2010 album, Walk Alone, features his own version of the song, and he and his father performed the GMA Dove winner for the live release Bishop Morton Celebrates 25 Years of Music. The same year, PJ joined Maroon 5 as a performing keyboardist and background vocalist. The work didn't slow his solo career. He signed to Young Money and released the album New Orleans, featuring guest appearances from Stevie Wonder, Busta Rhymes, and Maroon 5's Adam Levine. In May of 2013, the album's single Only One earned him a Grammy nomination for Best R&B Song. In 2017, Morton returned with his fifth solo album, Gumbo, which included appearances by Pell, BJ the Chicago Kid, and the Hamiltons. Also included on the album was a cover of the Bee Gees' How Deep Is Your Love? All right. So I'm going to be, y'all know I always like to give backstory because it's just how I am. Initially, my artist spotlight was going to be Amory, because Amory is very under the radar. I know she really isn't out there with music like that now, but Amory was Amory. PJ Morton, I got introduced to a couple days ago, actually. In a few weeks, he actually next week, he's bringing out a live version of the Gumbo album. So I was, hearing about it, and he had a song that he did with Yebba called How Deep Is Your Love, which is from that Gumbo live album that's coming out. So I said, okay, let me do my research. Let me learn some music. Let me get into this and learn, get a better feel for music. So I go back and I listen to just Gumbo in general. Got to track number 4 called Religion. Lost my religion. Religion proved to me, and so in sports, there's a sports tree of, if you're a coach, you coached and you were under this coach, who was under this coach, who was under this coach. And that's how you're in the tree of whatever that coach is. Stevie Wonder has a tree in music. One of his branches, India Reid. One of her branches, PJ Morton. PJ Morton, if you listen to this album, it has Stevie Wonder written all over it. And it's not, and if anybody says this or just address with PJ Morton, I don't care. It's not a bad thing. It actually sounds like a dope album. Like, I can sit and play the PJ. Anytime I'm going through like phases and moments, like I said, I mentioned it at the beginning of the show. I wasn't having one of the best days yesterday. I went back and I listened to that album and I was like, okay, I'm good. I'll be fine. But he did Religion, and Religion sounded like a Stevie Wonder track. Listen to the next track, it sounded like a Stevie Wonder track. So I am definitely here to tell you that I am the supporter of PJ Morton. But I like where he's going with music. Like, I feel like the album that's releasing coming out next week, I'm definitely ready for that one. The song he did, Only One was with Stevie Wonder, and they have a video for that. So if you want to check that out, I would definitely recommend it. But PJ Morton is kind of like that style that no one's used to, but he's creative with his personality in music, and I love it. So if you are, and I know I always say Apple Music, but if you are a streaming source owner, Pandora, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Music, Amazon Music, go check out PJ Morton. If you're not able to find him on your selected source, go to YouTube. Listen to some music, chill, make the most of it. Before I continue with and this is gonna be a tough one because I have Pass of the Week, and I don't know if the other one, I really don't want to consider it as Ass of the Week, but I'm kind of gonna, we'll do it as Ass of the Week, no pun intended, and I'll explain why. If you are a music fan, or if you have those stints or stages of, hey, I need some music to just kind of vibe to, but I don't need any like words, I don't need a whole lot of beats or anything, go on YouTube, look for Lo-fi music. Any of them that you find, look for the ones that are live, and just let that play in the background. It will give you the most chill and calm and serene state to get through your day, your routine, whatever you want to pin it as. I've gotten introduced to it. It's crazy because it was like I got introduced to it. I knew about it at one point, stopped listening to it, got back into it again. Now it's like my go-to for if I need to just like jam to some music, but I don't need anything that's like gonna bombard me with being too quote unquote jammy. But in all fairness, like, definitely tune in if you haven't already to like lo-fi music, to just kind of, and they got like chill. It's one that's like a chill study, like just if you're doing some studying, play that in the background. You'll coast through your studying and zone out and forget that you're even studying. Like, it's that helpful. That's just my personal take on it. But yeah, PJ Morton, definitely go to Artist Spotlight. Like, go and check him out. If you haven't listened to, so 2 recommendations, because it was said in the article and I learned it from reading the article. Listen to How Deep Is Your Love by the Bee Gees first. Then go back and then go and listen to How Deep Is Your Love. Actually, you can do all 3. Listen to the original How Deep Is Your Love. Then find the one that's on YouTube, How Deep Is Your Love with Yebba. You'll definitely see the sample and how it all comes together, and it's harmonious. That's the best way I can put it. So we get to our point where this is, and I normally, like, I always joke about it and I say, yeah, this is my favorite part, but this is a tough story. So we're gonna do Pass of the Week, and then we're gonna do what I'm gonna call is, no pun intended, Pass of the Week. So let me rename that before I forget. Y'all know I'm slow. So Pass of the Week this week is for one of the victims, Joaquin Oliver. He was involved in the shooting in Florida. So my condolences, heartfelt sympathy to those who were lost in that shooting. The killer, they were able to get him and all that stuff, but we'll not gonna really give him any attention. But Dwayne Wade did a interview where he was very emotional in knowing that one of the students who was who was killed in that shooting, decided to wear his jersey in honor of Dwayne Wade. So to kind of give the story, Miami Heat guard Dwayne Wade said Monday, it makes him emotional to know that a student killed in the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School was buried in a jersey with his name on it. Joaquin Oliver's parents revealed Sunday on Univision talk show Al Punto that their son was buried February 17th in his Wade jersey. You really can't put that in words. You hurt for the family. Wade told reporters Monday. If you ever get the opportunity to speak to them, you just try to hope the time where he was alive that you were able to bring some type of joy to his life and something memorable. A story that his family and you guys can talk about. Before he was gunned down in a mass shooting at the Parkland, Florida high school, Oliver, 17, was excited about Wade's return to the Heat. Wade, who had played for Miami before leaving for Chicago and then Cleveland, returned to the Heat about a week before the shooting at Stoneman Douglas that killed 14 students and 3 adults. Wade responded to the news of Oliver being buried in a Wade jersey by tweeting, "You're about to make me cry this afternoon." Like I said, I retweeted on Twitter, "You're going to make me cry," Wade said. It's emotional even thinking about that his parents felt that buried him in my jersey was something that he wanted. I take pride in what I've done in this state and what I've meant for the youth. I appreciate it. Wade then went on Twitter to point out how he affected his life. And he showed that athletes should continue to speak up on topics in which they believe. This is Joaquin Oliver. He was one of the 17 young lives that were lost tragically at Douglas High School in Parkland. Joaquin was one of many that I heard was excited about my return to Miami, and yesterday was buried in my jersey. This is why we will not just shut up and dribble. It's way bigger than basketball. We are the voices of the people, for the people that don't get to be heard. Joaquin Oliver, may you rest in peace, and I dedicate my return in the rest of this Miami Heat season to you. And then they went on to discuss that they did play yesterday. They're playing tonight against the 76ers. So I read that with the tone for the simple fact that you never know when you're doing something, who or how it can impact others. I mentioned this to people, and I've had friends come to me and say, like, they want to do podcasts, and then they've heard me talk about podcasts and have seen that I have articles or stories and I'm talking about it. Some people may listen, some may not. I'm okay with that. But I know I've done my part if the right person says, "Hey, I listened to the show and I appreciate what you do." Even if I don't hear it, or if I know it's like just a like or a download, just little things, a play, things that are seen are appreciated. I know this is from my personal standpoint, but with Dwayne Wade, what he's doing, him playing basketball, you never know who you're having an impact on as a whole. And you can't beat timing. I know that's kind of an odd spin to it, but it's reality. You truly cannot beat timing. Like, he had just, like, all of this stuff went on, like, it was, before All-Star Weekend, all the trades happened. Wade left, went back to Miami. He belonged. I mean, despite how things did or didn't go down with Miami was home. Yeah, he was going back to Chicago because he was from Chicago, and that's great. But Miami is where he developed a lot of his career. I mean, he has 3 championships. So, I mean, he did something to that to impact or benefit that team. The chemistry wasn't all that great with Cleveland, and it wasn't between him and LeBron. I mean, it was just father time. So him coming back to the team and then, this shooting happening and having a kid to wear your jersey as an honor, in honor of you or respect for you, that's huge. That's big respect. Like I said it earlier before starting that recording, but I do send nothing but prayers and positive energy to those, who lost family members in that shooting, because no one deserves that. And I listened to another podcast, and it's a valid point. The option or the idea of thinking that giving a teacher a handgun is going to resolve something is not the answer. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And it's not me like dangling and I want to talk about it. It's a tough. You can't bringing ideas like that to the table with little to no logic or little to no reasoning as to where that's beneficial. You are sometimes missing where it can kind of hurt the process or hurt why we're not able to grow and build as people. So we'll now get into, and I wanted to do that story first because this story, it's not an ass of the week, but it's gonna be ass of the week for implications. And I was being funny because I found an article, shared it with my roommate because she games, but like it's just one of those things that's like, wow, we're to this point, but I could see a lot of people streaming because of this. So Twitch is now paying female streamers who are just starting out streaming. So I might be out because I've been streaming for a while. Twitch will be paying up to $2,000 per semester. Now this might be ass of the week. Twitch will be paying up to $2,000 per semester to female streamers to celebrate Women's History Month. Women's History Month is starting in March, and Twitch have partnered with 1000 Dreams Fund in order to promote female streamers. This will include paying female streamers to help them with initial startup costs for their stream. From March 1st until April 1st, Twitch has a charity stream plan. This will aim to raise money for the 1000 Dreams Fund. The charity is aiming to fund 1,000 women, and the stream event itself aims to raise awareness of the challenges of women. So that's why I said it's an ass of the week, but it's not an ass of the week. The grants of money will be anywhere from $500 to $2,000 each semester. If you are a female streamer who is in high school or college, you might as well apply for this grant and get some free upgrades, etc. from Twitch. This grant is said to cover the cost of travel as well as hardware upgrades. The grant is open to all female streamers, but high school, college, or graduate school age streamers are preferred. Paying female streamers is a new idea, but one I think could help bring a more diverse crowd to the site. 1000 Dreams Fund CEO Christy Garton had this to say about the partnership with Twitch and female streamers. As an organization committed to all dreams, we are excited to partner with members of the Twitch community on this amazing new campaign. The initiative will not only raise critical funds, but will also boost awareness around the shortage of support for these creative young women in the digital broadcasting scene. Will you be looking to get in this program, or do you think it's unfair that there is no version of this for male streamers who are just starting out? Let us know your thoughts on Twitch paying female Twitch streamers. Okay. So, me being forced to give comments to this is going to be fun. Because really, I'm on the half and half fence about this. And I'm not, let me make sure that I'm clear, because I don't want it to sound like I'm being like a hater, because I'm not. Like, the community is the community. I don't care who, if it's money out there to be made, get your money. Male or female. As long as it's legal. I don't care. But the fact that Now it's kind of a spinoff too, because I do want to be sure that I look at it as a spinoff. Because it's for Women's Month, and Women's Month I have to get prepared, because I just realized I want to make sure I get the women artists for artist spotlight. So me saying that'll be a reminder. If the factor of the women who are streaming are truly gamers and can play, I've got no problem with this. My hands are clean. We're done. I'm good. I will go and hide and I will chill. However, if this brings about, and it's tough for me to not say this because the article that they show is showing a couple of women who are streamers, but literally all you're seeing is their breasts, or you're seeing the rack. So it's like, okay, for them, I don't see what they would need this $2,000, because those are the streamers who get the bits and the donations. If you're someone who's up and coming, who actually, God forbid, has a passion for gaming, I feel like you should. This is where it works out and it benefits. So that's why I said it's no pun intended ass of the week. Like, I'm not expecting any girls to like get on and act a complete fool just to get money from streaming. But I just hope that it generates the right crowd of gamers who want to either become streamers, or it generates the right crowd from those who are watching the streamers, because you are going to have, as I like to call it, the Chris Hansen pervs show out. And when they show out, they show out. There's no other way of putting it. I'm definitely in for this and definitely ready to see what's in store. I just hope that no one abuses what comes with what they're about to do. Because I've seen, like, late in the past couple of months, I've watched a lot more streaming, and I've seen streamers who actually have pretty good content, and you don't see the slightest bit of skin from them at all. And it's perfectly okay. Like right now, I'm going through just my regular list. I have Valkyrie, lots of bunnies, Sonya the Evil. That are online. Let me add that part. And out of those ladies alone, Mary J. Lee, and these are all hosts. Out of those that I just mentioned, I've been in a good place with streamers because I know what I'm getting when I watch them stream. I'm not going to get a whole lot of extra fluff and a whole lot of irrelevant foolishness. Like, if somebody's playing, like, my thing is, don't make, and I'm not going to say, I'm not saying that the streamers people who are looking to really be in the streaming are going to do this, because I'm giving benefit of the doubt because that's me. But there are streamers who I've seen who will literally have their entire face cam cover 45% of the screen. And the caveat of the flip side of it is, those same streamers are the ones who get upset because guys come to their page and they don't say anything. It's not even about whether you say anything nice or mean. It's just they only come to say things that they would never say to a person, to a female in real life. And that, for me, just doesn't. 2 + 2 is not 4. -1 is 8. Quick math. Just, no. It's not coming together. So I'm just sharing all of that and just kind of venting a little bit. But what I want to say and what I want to point out is, if you're, and this is with anybody, male or female, because I'm gonna address the male part of it in a second. If you're looking to do streaming, doing it for the right reasons is going to be a lot more beneficial than to go into it either A, looking to get money, or B, looking to get exposure. Because your exposure is going to come with time. Me podcasting for the past couple of years, exposure for me has come with time. Can I tell you how many people follow my blog of Keep Up with my podcast WordPress? I can't tell you. Do I want to, do I want that to be something that's like relevant to what is in store? Of course. But I also know, like with anything, it has to build up and it has to kind of gain its legs on its own. So just sharing all of that and just talking about that. And the other part that I want to say, and I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna wrap up. If there's any point or any thought as far as, oh, I feel like they should do a men's version of this, you really don't. It's not necessary. Guys are going to be brought in looking at as gaming, especially if you're trying to get the exposure and get the time out there. And as far as you getting equipment and getting things, if it's something they decide to do now, if they're doing it again based on it being college, high school, college grad, things of that sort, okay, then I get it. But it's a matter of when or how you're gonna do it, because it's not like you have a men's month. let's make sure we remember that part too. So that's what I'm gonna leave y'all with on this week's show. Great show. More, like I said, a lot of information, a lot of content, a lot of things went down, but I wanted to make sure that, as I always share with you all, no content or no information is left to be not addressed or not discussed, because we know technology and news changes so fast. So if you're not following already, past podcasts, email, if you're looking to send an email, pastpodcastbt@gmail.com. The past podcast link is under Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, even though I don't use it. I might be deleting that page soon. I don't know. But as always, y'all be good, stay positive, do something worthwhile. If you're able to and you're in the area of it, enjoy the day. Get out, do something. That's what I'm gonna leave y'all with. Until next time, take it easy.